Hello, everybody. So excited to be with you again. Kyle Allen from Vaco, and I have a special guest today, Miss Sydney Johnson, with us.
Hello, hello.
So
Happy to
excited
join you.
today. We've been talking about so many things hiring and how to get the job, how to negotiate, um, questions to ask, counter offers, all kinds of stuff. And I think this is maybe one of the more fantastic topics and the more undervalued things that organizations aren't focusing on is looking at how to enhance hiring from a digital presence. And so, Sydney, tell about a little bit your role here, what you've done for us and your team you're a part of here at Vaco, and kind of all you guys do here in Nashville.
Sure. So again, I'm Sydney. I have been with Vaco's Nashville office for about 4 years now. Our Nashville marketing team consists of three of us, and I focus mainly on the digital space. We all kind of have our own areas of expertise, but I do some of the advertising, social media, blog writing, maintenance, website updates, landing pages, kind of mostly all things digital. So this would be a great topic for me to shine some
For
light on.
sure. Well, and your team has brought some fantastic hires to our organization that have been absolute superstars the past 3 years. And I wanted to dive in a little bit about some pitfalls that maybe people are seeing, some things that they haven't even thought about doing, or some things that, hey, we're trying, but it's not working. Here's some things to start it up. And so kind of just wanted to kick it off today with just like what I think is just the biggest piece and the biggest opportunity for people that's really undervalued, just their website in general for hiring. And just talk about that as far as some things that you like. Talk about just some no-nos that you see. You're like, God, this is really holding you back for people that want to approach your company about coming to work there, that they're not helping themselves, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of aspects to your website in terms of design, functionality, user experience. But in terms of hiring, I think the main thing, if I'm going to come work for a company or if I'm potentially interested in working, I'm going to check out their website. That's a non-negotiable. I think any job seeker would say that. So if I go and it's outdated technology, it's really clunky, it's kind of hard to navigate, I'm not sure where to go on the website to find out more about working there, I'm probably going to bounce off of the website and go look at somebody else, if I'm being honest. So I think in terms of from a company standpoint, just making sure your website is updated and it's fresh and it doesn't seem like it's kind of sat stagnant for the past couple of years. I mean, your website should be getting updated on a regular basis, but at least a major overhaul, at least every couple of years, just to keep it with the times. So I think in terms of the website standpoint, I think having like a designated career section where I can go on your website as a job seeker and see A, what jobs are open at your company, B, get a little bit more of the culture feel. What is it like to work here? If you have any company videos, you can showcase them here, and I can visually see what it's like to feel and work at this company. I think if businesses don't make it easy for the user to get there and get that information, they're just going to leave. So I think that's a main thing, and especially now, in Nashville in the tech space, if you're somewhat in the tech industry and you have an outdated website, that's going to be a big red flag for me, because that means I'm going to be working on outdated technology when I get to this company, most likely. So I think stuff like that, where people don't maybe realize that that's kind of what you're putting off there if you're not investing the time and energy and making that, making sure you're up to date and all the technologies on your website, you're going to deter people from working with you.
Yeah, I feel like a website was like years past was like a have to have kind of deal. Like, well, just we have an online presence. It tells you a little bit about what we do. But I think the power of it and the challenge, I talk to so many hiring managers, is business is fine. They don't have a problem getting business, right? Revenue's coming in the door. They have a problem finding talent. Number one issue, and everybody I talk to, and it's great for us in our business, obviously, but I think people need to rethink their website and how it's like kind of going on a first date, right? With somebody, it's your first impression.
Mm-hmm.
You want to put on your best, whatever that is. And I think there's so many organizations that are falling behind and just not even really paying attention to it. And it's like so easy to like showcase yourself there, because I mean, there's just so many, just low hanging fruit for companies to like attract good
Mm-hmm.
talent. Like you said, outdated technology kind of just turns them away. And then the whole, talk about that a little bit as far as you mentioned it, just the navigation, which I feel like some people, it's like simplicity rules on a website, in my opinion. Like you go to google.com, it's very simple, right? You go to
Mhm.
these others where it's like multiple clicks, it takes 7-8 clicks. Like talk about that, as how is that companies can streamline that.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, yes, you want to showcase, put your best foot forward on it, but you also have to think of it from the user's perspective.
Yeah,
And so you want to make sure that you're getting all the content you want out there and it's fresh and it's up to date and it reflects your company. But if people can't find it on your website, then it's pointless. I mean, if you have it there, but I can't get there, it may as well not be there. So I think having an easy navigation, again, having the career section, that's just an easy call out, job seekers, careers, and I can learn more. If I'm having
yeah,
to click around or go in the search and I can't find it, or there's broken links on your website and I'm getting sent to a 404, it's just not a good look. And so I think that's, and again, it seems to me kind of, self-explanatory, but people have to invest the time and energy to make sure that they have the resources in-house, that they are doing that for their website, whether through their marketing team or if they have an agency, whoever it may be. But you don't want to frustrate the user when they get to your site, because then they're
for
just
sure.
going to go somewhere else. They'll go to a competitor. That makes it a lot easier to apply.
That's right. Totally. Well, pivoting a little bit, which I think is still ties into the website to a point where I think companies are severely undervaluing this area, because I think a lot of, especially the boomers and maybe the older individuals, see social media as a personal avenue for things that don't matter in the business world. And we're quickly realizing that's not the case, right? And you shared with me a stat, Sydney, that the average person per day is spending 142 minutes on social media. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's 2.5 hours a day. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, if your business is on there, you're going to be seen, and it can generate some traffic through that, including attracting talent. So
Mm-hmm.
talk about that a little bit, as far as just the importance of just social media and from a hiring sense, and how
Yeah.
that can drive talent.
I mean, it's huge, especially nowadays. I mean, again, yeah, as you said, 2.5 hours a day, I'm probably thumbing through whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever it may be. And that's just a good opportunity for businesses to plug in. Obviously, the websites, there's a lot out there. Social media, that's another way you can find to separate yourself from maybe your competitors in terms of hiring. And I just feel like for sure in corporate America, having a LinkedIn is crucial. I mean, you have to. And not only having it, but having consistent content being posted. If I go to someone's my company page on LinkedIn and they haven't posted anything in a couple of months, I'm going to kind of wonder what's going on here. Are you guys keeping with the times? Are you guys going through something that maybe you're not sharing? I don't know. It just would be a little suspicious to me. So I think consistent posting is key. And then also with LinkedIn, it's a really great place to showcase your current talent, to show potential new talent. Who would I be working with? Are these people I would get along with? Do they have the same ideals as me? Are they kind of like-minded thinking, not necessarily in terms of culture, but in terms of drive and where I want to get up my company to? Are they the same motivated individuals? And so I think showcasing your talent on LinkedIn, if I go there and I see people that are with the times, they're innovative, they're coming up with really cutting edge things, and if that's what I'm looking for in a business, then I'm going to be more inclined to apply. Now, if I go there and it seems like they're maybe a little behind the times, they're not really, being cutting edge, then I may not. So I think if you really are trying to be good about your hiring strategy, I think really just using LinkedIn or any social platform, but especially LinkedIn, since it's the professional network to go to, make sure it really accurately relays your company. What's your mission? What's your vision? What are you trying to do? How are you trying to change your industry? And I think if you can showcase that in a good way, you're going to automatically have people reaching out to you, trying to learn more about potentially working with you.
That's all so good, Sydney. I see a lot, and I've learned a lot just from you and your team. Just it does take time, right? It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of intentionality. There's a lot of strategy behind it. And I will say this too, Sydney, your team does a really, really good job at understanding our business, right? And so I think when you're marketers or when you're social media folks, they can be a little undervalued. Like, well, just post some stuff online. I'm like, no, you guys are really pointed on why we're doing something. And so that brings me to my next question, because I think there's so many organizations that like aren't doing a good job with this at
Mhm.
all. So if somebody's watching this for the first time, they're like, man, my company's doing a terrible job. How do they get started? What would they do? Maybe they're posting every 2 months. It's trash. They look on their Instagram. They're like, it's boring, not engaging, no comments. Give me a couple of tips that like, hey, tip us off here. If you're trying to start a social media campaign for an organization to attract talent, where do they start?
I think for one, for the company having a designated resource who has the workload capabilities to designate time to it. Because like you said, if it's not consistent, it's not frequent, if it's kind of an afterthought, you're going to be able to go to someone's profile and kind of tell that someone's just kind of doing this on the side and it's not really coming from a strategic standpoint. So I think for one, having the resource dedicated to do it. And then from there, to your point, having that person know your business. I mean, meet with upper leadership. Who are the type of people you want to attract? What's their background? Where can I find them? And then going on social media and finding those types of people who would fit whoever your potential new hire could be. I mean, there's tons of different content ideas that you can post. It could be your internal company culture. I think social media, especially Instagram, any of the more visual types of social media outlets, that's a great place to showcase whether it's video, long form video, short form video of your culture. What would it really be like to work here? I think whether it's a day in the life of one of your staff or just showing, if you're in office, showing maybe some cool aspects of your office, or if you guys do team building activities, highlighting that because that's really important to a lot of people. Now, there's also a lot of different motivators in the workplace. So I think making sure that you're including all the different motivators in your content strategy plan and not only tailoring it to maybe one aspect. But I think it's just important to just be real and honest. And I think social media is a really great place for that. If it seems forced or too corporate or scripted, then people may not think this is really what it's like to work here. So I think just having fun with it, get with the trends. It's not for every industry. Obviously, every business is different. And I think doing your research about your target audience and who you want to attract is crucial. But have fun with it. And don't be afraid to maybe get on a trend or try something different. If you've been posting the same type of content forever and you haven't made any adaptations in the past couple of years with your strategy, you're probably not going to be cutting edge. If I'm looking and I'm going to be able to tell a difference if you've posted the same type of thing for the past 3 years and you're trying to change it up, because it just gives you a different way to showcase your team and your culture in new and fun ways. And I think that's what some businesses are kind of maybe a little bit behind on and could probably do a little bit better job, especially when it comes to attracting talent.
For sure. And I think too, and you guys do a great job. I'll do a shameless plug for Vaco. I think on Instagram or Vaco Nashville, Sydney and her team do a fantastic job of showcasing that for us as far as culture, who we hire, celebrating people, showing our story. And I think the other big piece too, Sydney, with this is showing kind of your expertise, right? And I want to go work for an organization that obviously knows what they're doing. Is driving change, it is driving innovation, and seems to be thought leaders in the space that they're in. And I think just having that step of anything, if you're doing nothing else but like, hey, just sharing what you know in your industry, like I think that's a great first step too. If you don't have anybody that maybe can do that for you, you're the CEO, you're the CFO, you're whatever it is, and you're like, well, let me just talk about what we know. Right. That's easy to put together. So I think that's some great things to chat about. And I think too, the other thing as well, I think you're able to pivot quickly on social media with updates or just different things like, oh, we're doing this now. Or, talk about this too. Sydney, I love this, but I love a giveaway. We do a lot of giveaways to engage our audience. We have a lot of entertainment options. So we get a lot of tickets and different things to give away. So obviously that creates an engagement culture. For people to get to know us and see what we're all about. But I think there's things that you can do outside of the norm. Just get creative, right? And so I think talk about that a little bit. Sid, I think the biggest fear a lot of people have is just, well, what if it doesn't work? What if this, like, just what do you say to that? Like, if they're fearful that it may not work, what should they do?
I feel like with social media, it's an avenue where you can kind of take chances, obviously within reason. I mean, let's not get crazy here, but I think don't be afraid to fail, honestly. I think so many people get held back because they're stuck in this limited mindset of, okay, well, this is what's okay to do, or this is what I should be doing. And yes, you have to think through your strategy, but I think it's okay to do something a little different, and have a little fun with it and take risks. I mean, the people who've gone viral they're putting their whole life and whatever out there, and it might work, it might not. But even if it doesn't work, you still learn something from it. And then you can use that for your next campaign. I think thinking, one post is typically not going to make or break you unless it's something extremely controversial, which I would never recommend. But I think it's okay to just have fun with it. I always joke. I'm like, I fail on a weekly basis, but for a good reason. And then I learn from it, and then it helps me pivot to something else. And I think, yeah, social media is a place where you can do that and put it out there. And if it doesn't work, great. Or hide it or delete it or whatever. Or maybe you get some chatter about it that you don't like, address it, and then use that as a way to move forward. But I think social media is constantly changing and adapting. And I think if you're not trying anything new, then you're just going to have the same boring strategy moving forward. And so I think you're not going to find those fun, creative ways to kind of think outside the box. Like, that's what social media is for, really.
Yeah.
For most people. How do I get to a different, a different mindset, a different outlook? And I think, to your point, I just think it is a fun place for people to go, and I'm spending time on it, and the giveaways. And yes, that may not directly translate to someone applying to our website, but the stat is, I think, 7 times of someone interacting with your content before they convert. So I might need to see a couple of different of your posts before I can immediately like, okay, I want to apply. But if you're not posting consistently and you're not posting different things, then people, it's going to take a couple times anyways. So make it different, make it fun, make it unique, make it stand out. If it's just like everything else through my feed, I'm just going to keep swiping. So I think keeping that in mind, where you're going to have multiple touch points with most people before they're like, okay, I want to apply here. But I think just having fun with it.
Well, I think all your comments say this, and I think America in general is always looking for that quick fix, right? Like, oh, if there's one thing I can do, let's just do that. And I think your messaging to this point is like, consistency matters, right? Long game in this. I don't want to add, but it took us a while to kind of find our footing with social media and finding some really, it was a couple of years. We were really like, I remember the first year I was like, this isn't moving the needle at all. And you're like, okay, here's our plan, stay consistent. Here's what we're trying to do, long game. And man, like year 2 and 3, like we're getting business now through it. We're getting a lot of people like reaching out to us to work here. We're getting other inquiries about, hey, can you help? All kinds of stuff. It's crazy. So the biggest thing I could say from somebody who has been involved with it is just like long game, and be consistent. Right.
Yeah. Too many people are like, okay, well, I'm going to go hard on it for a month, and they may not immediately see the results. They're like, this isn't worth my time. This isn't worth my energy. Well, that's just a month. It's going to take time. So just like any other aspect of, if you were doing business development for a month and had a bad month, are you just going to give up on it? No.
Gotta crush it. So last thing, Sydney, I think it's another good piece that people don't think about as far as just having a strategy for third-party reviews and testimonials.
Yes.
And just want to talk a little bit about, we've done a really good job again with that. We've been intentional with it. Talk about how we've used that to help drive hiring, just drive our digital presence.
Yeah. So, third-party reviews, whether that's Google, Yelp, Glassdoor, any of those, they're important. You can't just kind of let them fall by the wayside. You need to stay on top of it and make sure you're addressing it. And the reality is, there's every now and then going to be a negative review. There's no way around it. No one is perfect 100% of the time. So no company will be either. But I think just having a plan in motion for that and addressing it, because again, if I'm going to work for a company, I'm going to check out their website, I'm going to check out their social media, and I'm going to check out their reviews. That's an obvious. So if I go to your, Google reviews, and you either don't have a lot of reviews, or you do have a lot of reviews and they're not so good, that's going to be a red flag to me. And I think, as we talk about now, job seekers are in the driver's seat. So how can your company differentiate yourself from a competitor? Well, that is a really good avenue to have it. If you have a plan in place where you're making sure that you're getting frequent and honest feedback from the people that you work with, whether that's your clients or especially your internals as well, to get honest feedback, I think that's crucial because, again, if say I always make the joke like if I'm sitting at home and I want to order Postmates, am I going to go with the restaurant that has like 3 reviews, or am I going to go with the restaurant that has like 100 reviews? Probably the one that has 100. I'm not going to trust those 3 people who went out on a limb and took a chance.
Especially being out of town. Like if you come to Nashville and don't know us, you're like, well, I want to work I need to help finding a job. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're not sure, totally. Yeah, you're going to do your research. And so you're going to want to see what other people, what their experience has been like with that company, whether working with them or working for them. So I think for us, we've just made it a point to have a designated strategy to make sure that we're frequently getting those reviews so that we can showcase, we've worked with all of these people. This has been their experience. Take it as you wish. And hopefully by reading some of it, you want to work with us. But I think not addressing that is a huge disservice to you because no one really trusts the people who have a couple of reviews. And then on the flip side with the negative ones, it's going to happen every now and then, but respond to it, acknowledge it, acknowledge that experience, and just own it. I just think is so important because people can just, try to be like, well, if I ignore it, it'll just go away.
That's right.
But that's that person's experience and, they should feel validated and that was their reality. And I think not responding to it it honestly looks worse if you go and there's a ton of negative reviews and no one's responded to it on the company's behalf.
It looks worse, and it's also an opportunity for us to get better, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, or clarify of saying, at least apologizing. Worst case, if something bad happened, own it, fall on the sword, and maybe there's something you can give that individual for something depending on your business and what it is. We're in a really challenging business, right? Because we have about 1,000 employees nationwide and about 7,000 consultants. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the reviews we get are based on nothing that we've done, but it's the client that they're at and the craziness of it. So we get our fair share of negative comments that we've got to battle and manage. That's sometimes, Sydney, to be fair, outside of your control.
Yeah.
So it can be a fun game for us on the review side, but I think. And this is very similar to social media and just, you got to be intentional with it, right? Somebody's got to drive it, talk about a little bit about how we got started doing the review piece. If somebody's like, okay, what do I do? How do I start? How do they get it? How do they kind of get their first 10, 15 reviews, Sydney?
Yeah. So we kind of have a review system in place where whether it's a candidate, which is a job seeker, or a client that we've worked with, if we've made a placement, reaching out to them after they've started to get their input, get their feedback, make it quick and easy, have an email already typed up. You can automate this depending on your technology at your business and have it send out to them with a link directly to we're going hard on Google My Business right now. So include a link to Google Business Listing, have it in the email. Again, make it easy for the person to leave the review. One click, put it in, good to go. Don't make it difficult. Don't hide it below 5 paragraphs, just quick, easy to the point, to ask for their feedback. And then having someone in-house who's making sure that those emails are going out or text, depending on whatever system you want to use. And then just monitoring it on the back end as you get reviews in. I think just find some people you've worked with. I mean, go check your database of who are your clients, who are your candidates, who might be willing to take a couple minutes out of their day to provide a review for you. Because at the end of the day, it's a couple minutes, if that, of someone's time, but it can go a long way from the business standpoint. Totally. So I think just thanking them for working with you, and then just asking if they would be willing to. They don't have to. Don't strong arm anyone into doing it. But I think if you have a positive experience, most people, I wouldn't mind just leaving a quick little review if I've had a positive experience.
Me too.
But I think being intentional to send me the link and make sure that you make it easy for me to do it, it's key because we're humans. We've got a lot going on, distracted. We may not go out of our way to search your, profile up to leave the review. So I think from a company standpoint, just making that easy for me to fill out, you'll start getting some reviews.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're totally Totally right on that. Sydney, this is super helpful. So we got recap, website for increasing hiring a digital marketing presence. Get a freaking good website. Work on it. Stay on it. If you're not using social media as that avenue, start, right? Go to Vaco Nashville for us. Look at some other organizations that are doing a good job on social media and what they're doing. Just copy them, right? Make it your own flair, but you don't need to reinvent new ideas, but kind of get your messaging out there. And then with the third-party testimonials and the reviews. So, Sydney, this has been fantastic, super informational. Where do they find you, Sydney? If anybody has a question, where do they find you?
Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can email me sjohnson@vaco.com, and I'm happy to give you any insight you might need.
Awesome. Well, Sydney, thanks so much for doing this, and I'll see everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'll see everybody in a few weeks on more leadership topics. Excited about that. Look for more information for that coming out. But see you guys in a few weeks. Thanks, Sydney.
See ya.